In today's video, like other videos, I want to be focusing your attention on some practical English phrases used by native speakers that if you learn how to use, you can take your English to the next level and sound like native speakers. Are you ready? Of course you are, which is why you're sitting here watching this video as carefully as you can. So let's get started. The first English phrase that I want to focus your attention on is it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. Once again, it takes two to tango. But what does it mean when we say it takes two to tango? Well, it takes two to tango means two people involved in something are both responsible for anything that happens. In other words, when there are two people involved in an argument, in an agreement, in a conflict or whatever, they're both responsible for anything that happens as a result of that argument, agreement, or conflict. Not just one is responsible, but two. Both of them are responsible for anything that happens. In other words, both of the people involved in an agreement, in an argument, both sides should make decisions about the argument. Both sides are responsible for anything that happens or are responsible to take action and make decisions about the conflict, the argument, the agreement, or whatever. Let me provide you with an example of this idiomatic expression. Don't just blame Sarah for the argument. It takes two to tango. Don't just blame Sarah for the argument. It takes two to tango. Don't just blame Sarah for the argument. It takes two to tango, which means do not just point the finger of blame at Sarah. Sarah is not the only party, responsible or accountable for anything that has happened. Both of the parties involved are responsible for anything that has happened and should be held accountable and responsible for whatever it is that has happened as a result of the conflict, argument, or whatever. So it takes two to tango. Now we proceed to the next English phrase that if you learn and use in your English conversations, you've taken your English to the next level and your English will be amazing, which is someone's strong suit. Someone's strong suit. Someone's strong suit refers to something that someone is very good at, something that someone is very skilled at. So someone's strong suit refers to someone's ability, someone's, let's say, something that someone is very good at or very skilled at. So someone's a strong suit. An example of this phrase. I can write well, but public speaking is not my strong suit. I can write well, but public speaking is not my strong suit. Once again, I can write well, but public speaking is not my strong suit, which means I can write well, I'm good at writing, but speaking in public is not what I'm good at. Speaking in public is not what I'm skilled at. I'm not good at speaking in public, but I'm good at writing. So I can write well, but speaking in public is not my strong suit. All right, now we proceed to the third English phrase that you really need to learn to be able to speak English at an advanced level, which is to beat the crowds. To beat the crowds. To beat the crowds. What does it mean when you beat the crowds? Or what happens when you beat the crowds? Do you start fighting with people? Do you start hitting people? The answer is no. When you beat the crowds, you go somewhere and get there earlier than others do. Let's say there's a party, you beat the crowds, you go to the party earlier than others do. Or let's say there's a festival and you know that the festival is located in a certain part of the town or the city where it gets really crowded and there will be a lot of traffic jam. So you try to go there earlier in order to get there earlier before others do, to avoid all the traffic or to avoid all the, trouble caused by the traffic. So you go there earlier than others do. And that's what happens when you beat the crowds. Let me give you an example of this phrase. Let's leave for the beach at 6 a.m. to beat the crowds. Let's leave for the beach at 6 a.m. to beat the crowds. Let's leave for the beach at 6 a.m. to beat the crowds, which means let's leave for the beach at 6 a.m. as early as we can to beat the crowds, to get to the beach earlier and sooner than others do, than other people do, in order to avoid traffic, in order to avoid all the hassle, all the trouble caused by traffic, to get there earlier and to be able to enjoy the place before it gets pretty crowded or before it is full of people that you can't do anything and you won't have enough space to enjoy yourself. So let's leave for the beach at 6 a.m. to beat the crowds. Now we're getting to the next English phrase that you really need to know and learn to be able to speak a more advanced English, which is to go to the great beyond. 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 But what does it mean when we say someone goes to the great beyond? Well, to go to the great beyond is a polite and poetic way of saying that someone has passed away, someone has died. So when we say someone has gone to the great beyond, it means someone has passed away, someone has died. But you're not saying it directly and impolitely, you're just saying it politely, indirectly, and in a poetic way, poetically. So someone has gone to the great beyond means someone has passed away or someone has died. An example of this phrase: my grandfather went to the great beyond last year, but we still cherish his memories. My grandfather went to the great beyond last year, but we still cherish his memories. My grandfather went to the great beyond last year, but we still cherish his memories, which means my grandfather passed away last year, my grandfather passed away last year, my grandfather died last year, but we still cherish his memories. We still, keep talking about or thinking about his memories. All right, are you ready for the next English phrase that is going to change your English for the better? Of course you are. So let's get to it, which is to have someone's number. To have someone's number. It's really easy, right? To have someone's number. But does it exactly mean to have someone's number, to have someone's phone number, to have someone's contact? Well, the answer is no. When you have, of course, one of the meanings of having someone's number is to have someone's number, to be able to call them. But the other meaning of having someone's number or to have someone's number is to understand someone, to know someone's real character, especially when they're dishonest with you. So to have someone's number means to know who someone is, to know their true character, their real character, and to know how they behave, to predict their behavior, and to know what they want to do next, especially when they're dishonest with you, or when you don't really know what they want to do, or when you believe that they're being dishonest with you. So to have someone's number means to know someone's character, to know someone's true colors, to know someone's true character, to be able to understand what they want to do when they're being dishonest with you. An example of this phrase: he tried to trick me, but I had his number from the start. He tried to trick me, but I had his number from the start. He tried to trick me, but I had his number from the start, which means he tried to deceive me or trick me, but I knew his true and real character and I knew what he was going to do right off the bat, from the very beginning or from the start. Now we're getting to the next English phrase that you really need to know to be able to claim that you can speak an advanced English, which is to have a heart of gold. To have a heart of gold. To have a heart of gold. When someone has a heart of gold, they're very kind and generous. They're very nice, kind, and generous to others. So to have a heart of gold means to be very kind and to be very generous. An example of this phrase: she volunteers at the shelter every weekend. She has a heart of gold. She volunteers at the shelter every weekend. She has a heart of gold. She volunteers at the shelter every weekend. She has a heart of gold, which means she volunteers. She does a lot of voluntary work, a lot of voluntary, things at the shelter every weekend. She has a heart of gold. She's very kind and generous. And the next English phrase, which happens to be the final English phrase of today's video, has the exact opposite meaning of to have a heart of gold, which is to have a heart of stone. To have a heart of stone. To have a heart of stone. But what does it mean when someone has a heart of stone? I already explained it to you. When someone has a heart of gold, it means they're very kind and generous. And on the other hand, when someone has a heart of a stone, they're very cold and merciless. They don't care about others. They're not kind. They're very unkind and merciless. They don't care about other people around them, or they have no sympathy for the people around them. An example of this phrase: he ignored the homeless man begging for food. He must have a heart of a stone. He ignored the homeless man begging for food. He must have a heart of a stone. He ignored the homeless man begging for food. He must have a heart of a stone, which means he ignored the poor man, the homeless man begging for food, asking for food. He must be merciless. He must be unkind. He must be the one who doesn't care about other people around him, especially the poor, the weak, or the disadvantaged. And that's about all, guys. In today's video, you'll learn 7 practical English phrases used by native speakers in everyday conversations that if you learn and also use in your speech, you can take your English to the next level. Let's review these phrases once again together. It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. Someone's a strong suit. Someone's a strong suit. Someone's a strong suit. Beat the crowds. Beat the crowds. Beat the crowds. Go to the great beyond. Go to the great beyond. Go to the great beyond. Have someone's number. Have someone's number. Have someone's number. Have a heart of gold. Have a heart of gold. Have a heart of gold. Have a heart of a stone. Have a heart of a stone. Have a heart of stone. And that's about all, guys. Thank you for watching today's video patiently and kindly. Make sure you like this video in support of this channel, and thank you for doing so. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be back soon with another video.